Today I shall be teaching you about the science, politics and social context of research. After I finish my lecture, you will be able to know about the role of science and research in solving mental health problems. You will also learn about the political aspects of research done on mental health, that is, what the government has done so far. You will be able to identify the viewpoint society holds towards mental health, evaluate the research programs on mental health, and also you will be able to analyze the researches on mental health. Let me give you an introduction to science, politics and social context of research. Under the heading Science, Politics and Social Context of Research, the use of science in establishing norms for mental health, political issues related to mental health, that is, what role government is playing in taking care of mental health issues and social context covering the mental health will be elaborated. Research is elaborative scientific study of any problem which helps in finding solutions to any raised problem which involves experimenting, observation and recording of data for further studies to carry out the same research or study done to the next level. Let me talk to you about the science of research on mental health. High quality research studies need to be done for the future to address in mental health knowledge and establish the mental health field on more solid scientific background. In particular, the focus should be on those which identify strategies for promoting mental health and preventing mental illness, exploring new mental health issues and solutions to those issues while reducing the risk factors for mental disorders. Research on mental health is also necessary to find out what perspective society holds towards mental health, and if the society has misconceptions about mental health, then effort should be made to neutralize these misconceptions. Scientific research helps in finding solutions to the mental health problems and what new techniques can be used in advancing skills for preventing mental illness and providing better treatment for mental illness. The science of research focuses on the points that I am going to tell you now. Number 1, exploring cause and effect relationship of mental health problems. It searches for preventive measures for mental illness, looks for effective and quick treatment for mental illnesses, collecting data on various mental health issues to explore about the viewpoint any society holds towards mental health and what kind of mental health problem is prevailing more in which particular region. Finally, planning preventive programs for the problems that have been identified. Let me move on to the next broad topic, which is politics on mental health. Here I will discuss with you the administrative bodies of mental health care. As there are few governing bodies usually formed to make anything work in a systematic manner, such as AIIMS, which is All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which is one institute or head of all medical departments of India. There are associations formed to look after mental health also. Indian Psychological Association IPA works in India as the administrative branch of doctors specialized to look after mental health problems. In the same way, every country in the world has its own mental health care unit governed to look after mental health problems, and they are supposed to look after the research work to be done or needed to be extended to explore more about mental health problems expanding in any region. The government plays its role in offering mental health research services through these governing bodies and associations. The government launches research programs and conducts surveys and interviews to keep a record of data required to carry out any kind of mental health research. These governing bodies look after the paperwork required to do for providing mental health care, training mental health care practitioners, and doing research work for exploring the more concerned issues of the mental health and what measures should be taken care of to control the expansion of the problem and then treating it with the help of intervention programs designed for it. Here we cannot ignore the role of non-governmental organizations or NGOs as they are called. Now this term non-governmental organizations was first coined in 1945 when the United Nations was created. The United Nations itself, an intergovernmental organization, made it possible for certain approved specialized international non-state agencies, that is, the non-government organizations, to be awarded observer status at its assemblies and some of its meetings. Later, the term became used very widely. Today, according to the UN, any kind of private organization that is independent from government control can be termed a NGO, provided it is not for profit, no prevention, and not simply an opposition political party. NGOs are the small scale separate organizations which work at individual level or at their own to carry out the research plans on mental health, to extend their work on mental health care and get a grasp of knowledge on the mental health conditions of the country's people. These NGOs do research and surveys to know more about the regions where people need immediate help for mental health care. The NGOs work at their own level with the permission of government. They look after mentally ill people with the support of people who are willing to give their time and donations for such people. Some of these are National Institute of Behavioral Science, NIBS as it is called, the Kanchan Foundation, Mother Teresa Home, Basic Needs, Basic Rights. The work of the NGO Basic Needs, Basic Rights with mentally ill people and functioning of the organization is explained as follows. Number one, it does capacity building. In capacity building, identifying, mobilizing, sensitizing and training mental health and development stakeholders takes place. Then is community mental health, enabling effective and affordable community-oriented mental health treatment services. Next is livelihoods, which is facilitating opportunities for affected individuals to gain or regain the ability to work, earn and contribute to family and community. Next is research, which is generating evidence from the practice of mental health and development. And finally is collaboration, which is managing partnerships and relationships with stakeholders who are involved in implementing the basic needs MHD model on the ground and or are responsible for policy and practice decisions. The next topic that I am going to cover is mental health laws and ethics. This segment covers the work ethics for mental health practitioners and laws made to reserve the rights of mentally ill people. After doing research, some rules and regulations were made to protect the rights of the mentally ill people of the country. And some work ethics are also governed for mental health practitioners also, so that it helps both the parties, the client with problem and the one who's providing treatment, being at some case at workplace and help each other their best in receiving and giving treatments. Not all countries have mental health acts. The WHO report 2001 lists the following percentages by regions for countries with and without mental health legislation. I briefly talk about those. Africa, for example, with legislation has 59% and no legislation 41%. Americans 73% legislation, 27% without. Eastern Mediterranean 59 with legislation, 41 without. Europe 96% with and 4% without. Southeast Asia 67 with legislation and 33% without, and Western Pacific 72% with legislation and 28% without. The governed laws and ethics for mental health care look after the following key points. 1. The patient shares his or her secrets with the mental health practitioner. If these secrets will be revealed, it will eventually affect the patient's life badly instead of helping him or her out. That's why it is said that whatever patient is revealing to the mental health practitioner, it should be kept strictly confidential. The identity of the patient is always kept disclosed in case studies. Every person has right to get mental health care and checkup done so that no one should get deprived of his or her need to get mental health checkup done and stays untreated if that person possesses any kind of mental health problem. Laws are made to facilitate the mentally ill people so that people should not be able to use them like stuff in the market and throw away when they are done with after the use. Doing any kind of harm to mentally ill person will lead to severe punishment. Crimes done by the mentally ill persons are taken under the cases of special consideration, and the judgment is given on such cases while taking the condition of the patient under consideration. Moving on to the next topic, which is the social context of research on mental health. Although social research in the field of mental health is still a relatively underdeveloped area, its importance is becoming increasingly recognized for the delivery of an effective recovery-oriented mental health service in line with the National Service Framework for Mental Health. However, many service users, carers and practitioners feel that they have not been properly involved in influencing or participating in research. They have found that it has not always asked the right questions or asked them in the right way so as to produce findings that actually helped to make a difference for them. Mapping out the value base for social research in mental health. 5 themes are proposed that start to clarify a value base for social research in mental health. These may be seen as link with current developments in service values. Now these themes are: number 1, partnership. How relevant stakeholders such as the service users, carers and practitioners can be meaningfully involved as partners in key aspects of the research process. Number 2, standpoints and distance. Good research needs to combine the insider, that is experientially based knowledge, and insights of service users and carers with frameworks that give space for rigorous analysis so that a clear and authoritative picture can emerge. Holism, not reductionism, which is looking at the person's experience as part of their wider social context. This leads to a focus on social change, attitudes, opportunities, etc., as well as individual recovery. Recognition of social diversity, acknowledging the impact of social divisions on people's experience and opportunities, and being cautious about applying research findings from one social or cultural group to another. Emancipatory purpose. How will research produce evidence and theory that can enable service users and carers to have a greater awareness of their situation so that they can make informed decisions and choices, have more control over the direction of their lives, participate more in social, economic and political life, and can enable them in conjunction with practitioners and members of the wider community to challenge stigma, injustice and social exclusion. In social context, research on mental health plays a vital role as it explains a lot about the basic queries related to mental health. Few of these key queries are as follows. 1. What a society thinks or understands about mental health. 2. What are the misconceptions a society has about mental health? 3. What are the kinds of mental health problems spreading out more in a particular society? 4. How diversity such as gender, age, culture affect the mental health problems in a society? Fifthly, what kind of access a society has for taking preventive and intervening measures against the mental health problems? The research is done on social setting to grasp knowledge about the mental health facilities required in a particular society, how much concern a society has regarding the mental health care, and how much knowledge does it have regarding the mental health care system. It also explains how people react to mentally ill people in the society. Moving on to the values and ethics. Before starting any social research in mental health, a number of fundamental questions need to be asked, such as who has been involved in deciding what needs to be researched? Number 2, who has relevant knowledge and expertise that may be used to guide the research? Number 3, who is going to be participating in the research and how do they give informed consent? Fourthly, who is it hoped will benefit from the research and in what way? Fifthly, how will research findings be used and who will have access to them? Sixthly, do all stakeholders in the research process have equal power and influence, or are some privileged with respect to others? At one level, these are pragmatic and practical questions. However, people's answers will be indicative of the values that underpin their approach to research. Within the field of mental health, much of existing research and evidence-based practice has been based on positivist biomedical methodologies. Now, these methodologies whose values base tend to assume that 1. People are passive objects that are done to by the technologies and practices of expert professionals. Number 2, in order for research to be rigorous, it is better if people are ignorant of what is being done to them and why. Number 3, questioning of meaning Categorization and significance are to be determined by the researchers and not the researched. Fourthly, it is the individual rather than their social, economic, political context that is problematic and needing to change. Such assumptions and the value base from which they stem may be seen to be inappropriate for the practice of social research in mental health. Furthermore, such a value base may be seen to be out of step with the orientation of modern mental health service delivery, in which the principles of recovery, partnership, and social inclusion are becoming increasingly central. An alternative value base for mental health research has been proposed by the Social Perspectives Network in 2003. Now, this sees that people are active participants or partners in their own recovery. People are experts on their own experience and by their own experiences. The research agenda must be as much about promoting social change as it is about individual recovery. Service users, carers, and practitioners who consent to participate in research must be fully informed about the purpose of the research and, if they wish, be given the findings of the research in the form that is accessible to them. Let me summarize my lecture. Science of research on mental health helps in systematically organizing the problems of mental health from clarification to taking intervention measure. Science helps in exploring each part of the problem to the extended level and then looking for its solution through research. Science helps in revealing the past, present, and future of mental health problems through research. Politics of research on mental health involves the advanced search on the history of mental health studies. Politics of research on mental health care helps in learning about the systems or units of mental health, which includes the associations looking after the mental health care unit. Politics involves study and formation of mental health ethics and laws which preserve the right of the mentally ill people and the right of the mental health practitioners also. Politics also involve the study of individuals, governing bodies or associations called the NGOs or non-governmental organizations which actually work especially for providing mental health care facilities and educating people about mental health. Social context of research on mental health actually studies about the views of people living in society about mental health. Researches in this context are actually about studying the concepts and misconceptions people have regarding mental health and check the awareness level of people regarding mental health issues.